Dear viewers, welcome to POWERchat, Nepal's only TV talk show in English discussing development since 2016. Through this episode tonight, we are discussing about the issue on Nepal as a global center, focusing on youth and politics. And I am joined tonight by Mr. Sushil Gautam, Chairperson of Maulik Jarokilo party. Please allow me to welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
How have you been?
Well, I'm pretty good.
Well, you have been long engaged in youth activism as such, and you left foreign land for Nepal to join politics. What motivated you to join politics, and you currently leading the political party called Maulik Jarokilo party?
Okay, before going to this question, I would like to start from the beginning. I used to study in Mother Mandari Memorial College, and there I
found in Nepal.
Yeah, in +2. And I found one interesting question that somebody said that knowledge can be created from meditation. And my guru, then time my teacher, Nirmal Adhikari, he used to teach us in our class, and he was involved in spiritual and scientific writings. And then I asked him one day that how can knowledge can be created from meditation? And then he told me that, okay, come to my office, then we'll discuss about it. And then after that, I got spiritual knowledge from Nirmal Adhikari Guru. And then he taught me everything related to Nepal, spiritual dimension of our life and everything. And then I went to Finland to study international business. I completed my study there. And then Guru told me that now it's time to come back to Nepal and work for your mother nation. And then I came, and he started Root and Locust movement, and I always wanted to join him and work under him, and he has envisioned to develop Nepal as a global center, and then it's my grand opportunity to come under him and then work for him. Well, it's my pleasure. That's why there's no reason, nothing. I never thought about living in Europe or America and getting a citizenship there, and then the rest of my life I just start living my life as general people does there. I have my life and my country, and it's my pride, and my guru has envisioned such a great vision to make Nepal as a global center, and it's my pleasure.
Well, you left Nepal for study, and you came back, as you mentioned that you were motivated with Dr. Adhikari. How do you assess the overall political situation of Nepal, and where do you find the movement Root and Locust, Maulik Jarokilo party that you are leading here in Nepal, and how do you want to make different amid political uncertainty, transition, fragility, and there is a kind of on part of the youths a kind of frustration? How do you want to address these issues in Nepal's political fraternity?
Well, it is blamed that in Nepal, such a small country, but we are having 160 political parties. It's too much. But from our perspective, there is only two political parties, one who loves indigenousness and the other who brings photocopy ideology from abroad. If you look at Nepal's political history after 2007, before that there was a Rana autocratic regime, and before that we don't need to discuss about it. But after 2007, what's supposed to happen was all those people who is involved in politics, they should have searched Nepal's own indigenousness, how to work in politics, how to work in economy, how to work in education system. But what happened was they started bringing ready-made ideology from abroad, namely Nepali Congress. They brought social democracy. The social democracy is formed by Ram Manohar Lohia and Jayaprakash Narayan in India, and BP Koirala brought the ready-made ideology to Nepal, and he started doing politics. The same way, the Leninism, United Marxist Leninists they call, the Leninism means the racial or multinational country. They brought from Russia, Soviet Union, and most of the currently the political parties who are currently working to so-called developed Nepal are brought from abroad. Marxism came from Germany, Leninism came from Russia, Maoism came from China, and so what happened is Nepalese political leader, they just brought ready-made ideology from abroad, and our guru, he looked at Nepal's indigenous religious groups and texts, and then he found that if you want to develop, if you want to govern some society, it has to be compatible with the society, the civilization. Economy, politics, education system should be compatible with the existing civilization and society.
Well, Mr.
And he found that
Sushil, before I come to the center for this discussion, that Nepal as a global center, I would like to follow up on your response to the previous question. How does, as you mentioned, the philosophy that were, or ideologies that were brought from other nations to Nepal obstruct the process of participation and development?
Let me finish that. In Nepal, there's only two political ideologies, so-called. Both of them are brought from Europe. One is communist, the other is capitalist, and we call it Kaputantra, communism. The meaning of Kaputantra is the poisonous mix of capitalism and communism who has been doing syndicate in Nepal's government system. Now, for example, if you look at the researchers and scholars' point of view, communist country China, they are producing 28% of global carbon emissions, and capitalist country United Nations is producing 15% of total global carbon emissions. And because of communists and capitalists point of view, or the worldly point of view, we are going to die. Nepal has 21 glaciers, is on the verge of blast. Sooner or later they will blast. It's not because of us, it's because of them, communist and the capitalist. So what I'm trying to say here is the world is not going to run on the basis of communist and capitalist because it is outdated already. What we need to do is look at the earth. In Sanskrit there's one saying, Mata Bhumiha Putroham Prithibhya. That means the mother, the earth is our mother, and we need to get her milk, not her flesh. So Nepal's politics is highly always governed by this Kaputantra, and they talk about the proletariat people, and they have their own high-rise buildings, and they talk about free education, but they invest in expensive schools. They talk about free health system, but they have invested in the expensive hospitals. So what is happening is the communist and capitalist, their poisonous mix is governing Nepal. First, we need to remove them from Nepal's government system. And then once we start our own indigenous perspective in education, in philosophy, in politics, then we know. I will give you one simple example. Hackman is a company. They make knives and stuff, and millions of dollars they have been having income for 1 year. Nepal's, there are some community who make knives for their living. Nepal has been, those people, they have been making knives and stuff thousands of years, but they are unable to live proper lifestyle today. But the Hackman is making thousands of millions of dollars. What we supposed to do is let them know what is innovation, what is branding, what is marketing, and then their traditional knowledge to make knives and stuff, they'll make in their own home, and they sell the products using online platform, and they can be rich people living in Nepal. So we are trying to do not leave our own indigenous tools and technique, but to adapt all those technological advancement and information technology, and we can grow prosper country.
Well, Mr. Gautam, very interesting. Don't you agree that participation and diversity have been ensured throughout these all political movements here in Nepal?
Not enough. It's not enough.
What is your vision of ensuring participation?
Before that, there was some problems. Yeah, we need to acknowledge that the problem existed. Like if you were Newari and you couldn't speak Newari language because of the then time government. But the situation has changed. Now people are trying to be participated in every state agencies and institutions. But what is happening nowadays is, that the multi-nation state, they have started saying, one political party, they are saying that Nepal is a multi-nation state because Nepal is a diversified country. The multi-nation state is, they are thinking that participation is not enough. We need to make our own country. If you are Tamang, you should be able to make your own Tamang state. It's multi-nation state. It's brought from Westphalian Treaty in 1648 AD. Nepal's political leader, they always think from European perspective, and what they did in 1648, the Westphalian Treaty, they established that if you have different race, different color, different personality, or by birth personality, you can make your own country. They started in Europe. They started this Westphalian Treaty called nation state, and the division of nation state is two nation state and multi-nation state. And some people, namely the JSOPA, Janta Samajwadi Party, they are trying to say that participation, just you mentioned, participation is not enough. We need to make our own country. If I am Brahmin, I should be able to make my own country. If I am Newari, I should be able to make my own country to protect my cultural right, my cultural identity. And what we are saying is no. Either you have different religion, caste, race, color, whatever. That is cultural variety. Your nationality is dependent on the state you are living in. It's a state nation theory. And Yugdrashta Guru, he developed this theory after 2300 years. Before that, there was Chanakya, he developed Arthashastra. Now, we are working to establish the state nation, not only in Nepal, the whole world. Because in Europe, there's 115 rebel groups. They are trying to separate their country because participation is not enough. They are trying to say, participation is not enough. We need to make our separate country. Namely, Spain had recently Catalonian independence referendum. And Scotland, they had a referendum to separate country. In Europe, there's 115 country, rebel groups. What happens if they start asking for referendum and start making the separate country? Does the participation is enough? No. So that's why we are trying to say this country is of both all those diverse group. Everyone has right. Everyone has regardless of their caste, color, ethnicity, whatever. It's their own country.
Well, you trying to say that the nation-state theory has been already applied and it has been failed here in Nepal?
Yeah, some regime.
What is your option, and how do you plan to ensure that with the state-nation theory, participation, or in your own word, indigenousness, would prosper in the vision of your own political theory?
The prime question is the politics should be based on identity, or you should protect your cultural identity. So we are trying to separate that politics based on identity or identity based on culture. And we are trying to say that identity should be based on culture. So cultural identity we need to protect. After applying state nation theory in Nepal, what happens is those different caste, color, ethnicity groups, it remains as a cultural diversity. No matter what language I speak, no matter what color do I have, this state, this country belongs to me. We separate the political and civil rights and cultural rights. We separate them and guarantee that both should exist and go along. Such an example we have already existed. Let's say Tharu community. Tharu community, what do they do? What they always do is they go to bird ghar in their cultural matters. For example, if they get a baby, they go to bird ghar to put name of the baby. Now, what is happening is those Tharu, they are going the lower entity, governmental entity, let's say village development or or different. But after applying state nation, they will stop going to the government agency to keep name of the baby. They go to Badgar, and those government agency will deal with the Badgar. This, and then after that, what happens that the Tharu sees the whole state as a Tharu's nest. You know, same way with Newar. Newar had a Guti, and Guti does many cultural stuff. So after applying state nation, Newar will stop going to the government authority to do many their cultural affairs. This is the best way to protect your own cultural identity. Same time, you don't separate a country to protect your cultural identity.
Well,
yeah, it's not only for Nepal, it's for whole world. For example, let's say what happened was during the British rule in India, they separated India and Pakistan on the basis of religion. Somebody said that we are Hindu, so we need to protect Hinduism, we need separate country. And somebody said Pakistan, we are Muslim, we need to protect Muslim nation, and we need Pakistan. But what happened after separation of India and Pakistan? They again separated the Bengali language. They start saying, oh, we have a Bengali language and we need to protect the language. Then they separated Bangladesh, and again Bangladesh is being separated by Bango Sena, and the Pakistan is in the Pashtun and stuff. So if you start protecting your cultural identity, separating country, it will keep separating and diffusion on and on all the time. So what we are trying to say is that no matter what color, caste, religion you have, it's your country. It's as long as you live in this country, the state will take care of your cultural identity, but you are not allowed to separate the country just the name of protecting your identity.
Well, Mr. Gautam, what is your take on federalism?
Yeah, federalism, if you look at, we are root and locus movement, and indigenousness is our prime motto. So if you look at Nepal's history, there is federalism. Sodasa Mahajanapada, if you talk about the the Buddhism period, during that period also there was federalism. And if you talk about Prithviraj Shah, he gave some rights to many states, like Limbus had Kipot, and Mustangi had some rights. So if you talk about federalism and it's about the administration right, then there was a federalism. What we are trying to do is, we don't accept this kind of messy federalism, but we have our own system. In north there is Himalayas, the mountains, and the mountain gives water. The water goes down to the Terai region. It makes natural system. The water starts and flows down, and it makes a natural system. What we are trying to do is to make the natural system compatible with the administration system. So we will, this kind of federalism currently existing, we don't accept this, but we will make
but
our
you're
own.
not against the federalism?
No. As a theory, we are for federalism. The natural system should be compatible with the administration system, and we'll make that.
Well, how do you see the participation of youths in politics? Because you are leading a political party, and comparatively, there are very few political parties that have, youth as leaderships.
Well, even today there are some leaders, political leaders, so-called, they call themselves a youth leader. But who is youth? And what kind of youth should come into the politics? By definition, youth means like after 16 years to 40. But Nepal is even 55 years old leader, he called himself a youth leader, and we don't accept that. We have made a simple formula who should come into the politics. Currently there are some youth, but they are not properly guided. We are trying to say that youth should be educated first, and he should be well trained. Like, how does he feed his belly and his family? Every youth leader who wants to come into the mainstream politics, he should be able to be, understand the worldly affair, that is education, and the other, how does he feed? What does he do? No matter what you do, you have to earn some money to feed your belly, feed your family. and then spiritually he should be, walking into the spiritual path. Either you are Hindu, Buddha, Bon, Jain, Kirat, who you are, you should respect your own religious people and the way of life. And once you respect your own cultural identity and walk into the spiritual life also, then there is less chance of corruption. Once you start feeding your belly, spiritual life and educated person, you should come into the politics. But currently what is happening is, there are youth leaders, they think that being a youth is to destroy vans and burning vehicles and just putting black thing on the teachers and professors. No, this is not the way to come into the politics.
What is your idea of ensuring that youths that you are talking about could independently participate in politics, fulfilling their own needs of employment and livelihoods and education? Very quickly.
Yeah, once you start working to imported ideology, they demand mass. They demand how many heads you have behind yourself. So what we are trying to do is, no matter how many, if you are able to say the proper thing to 5 people in 1 week, then it's enough. Once you start saying the indigenousness, the right thing to develop your nation, what is the proper way to develop your nation properly, you don't need to make huge investment to bring those people coming to the front and do many stuff. Once our state nation or the Maulik Jarokilo parties ideology goes into the public, what the youth of Nepal start saying is, no matter what I do to protect my indigenousness, I should be able to follow science, knowledge based on science, progress of technology, conscience of dharma, and relations of saharideta. These 4 major pillars, if I follow, then I can make Nepal as a global nation. We are trying to say to every youth that no matter what is your background, you should follow these 4 pillars, then come into the politics. Then we can do and we can work together to Nepal a prosperous country.
Well, could you also tell us the problems associated with the prosperity and development, and how does the idea of Nepal being the global center for all issues discussing around the world, and what is your approach of engaging people so that they think that their rights are ensured in line with the participatory approach?
Well, this question has many varieties to discuss on. I would like to go from the education. Today what is happening is, a mother thinks that once his kid starts speaking English, then the quality of education is good. And the whole family is trying just to focus in one language, one important language. We are also speaking in English, but what is happening is the quality of education is being compared on the basis of English language. This is the problem. Our education system came from Macaulay's, it is highly influenced by Macaulay. And where is our own education system? There used to be Gurukuli systems like Nalanda, Takshashila and Bikramshila and stuff. But we are not able to retrieve our own indigenous perspective. Once the education system has a huge vacuum, then the youth or the people, they are not being able to do what's supposed to be done. Let's say, after completing education, bachelor's degree education, are you able to start a company? No. After completing many education, are you able to feed your belly? No. So there is a vacuum in our education system. We need to fulfill this first. And the other thing, for example, let's say economy. We are working such economy that we study and we complete and we go to search work. If we don't get, we go to abroad. So when does our leaders start saying that, okay, this much people have graduated and we are going to start this company, this kind of system, and they will be employed? They never said that. They are always proud and, okay, we have made treaty with Japan and our youth will go to work in Japan, and we have made a treaty in Korea. Okay, now Korean language should be spoken here, and they start learning Korean language. So this is the problem. When you have a mentality to work there, and you have imported ideology, you don't look at Nepal's own perspective. So once you start looking your own perspective through indigenousness, then you know how to start the development process. Okay, let's say, I'll give you example. Today's world, what is happening is you can stay in Nepal and you can print the whole house using 3D printing system. Okay, and if you are a doctor, you can stay in Nepal and you look at the screen and you can diagnose any disease in Europe or America. Today's system is like this. So what we supposed to do is try our best to influence the human resource. Once we complete the human resource perfect, then they can stay in Nepal or they go abroad and they can work for Nepal. Also they can work for whole world. So we are trying to do this. So after 2007, when can you see that leaders are saying that, okay, we need to adapt to science and technology and we need to adapt our indigenousness, and combining both of them, we should work to make Nepal as a global center. How many times you have heard? No. They always try to flip the book of Marxist and Leninist, and they are saying, okay, Lenin said this, Marx said that. No. When does Buddha say that? When does Rishi say that? We need to ask for that. So this is our major punchline.
Well, Mr. Gautam, there are many interesting issues you're sharing with us, but we are coming to the end of the show. Anything very quickly that I have left to ask you?
Okay, I would like to thank you for inviting me here. And what is happening in Nepal is we are on the verge of collapse. It's sad to say that we are on the verge of collapse. Sooner or later, the country runs in this way, and we will not be able to tell that this is our independent nation. There's a huge problem is coming. So sooner or later, we need to come forward and work for our nation. Yugdrashta Guru has done such an immense work. After 20 years of research, he has started state nation theory, Saharidata philosophy, and 4 foundation pillars, and our own indigenous education system. If we don't understand the value of state nation today, we will not be able to proud on our country, independent country. Let's say we should unite. Sooner or later, we will grow back and we'll bounce back. Please come forward.
Well, Mr. Gautam, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Dear viewers, time now to wrap up this show. Keep watching us. See you next week. Namaste.